Welcome back to the library, everyone. Today, our tale takes us into the depths of World of Warcraft's history. We're going to uncover the secrets of Loch Modan. Located in the heart of the Eastern Kingdoms, Loch Modan lies just east of Dún Mora, nestled in the foothills of the Ironforge mountain. To the south we find the Badlands, while to the north, beyond the Dún Olgaz Gate and the Stonewrought Dam, lies the wetlands. The region takes its name from the loch that's situated in the centre, one of Azeroth's largest bodies of inland fresh water. Loch Modan appears as a haven of tranquility within the Eastern Kingdoms. However, beneath the facade lies a tale far more intricate, a story waiting to be fully told. You simply cannot recount the story of Loch Modan without delving into the tales of the Dwarves. Given the loch's location in Khaz Modan, it's essential to briefly explore the history of the race that inhabits this region. We will explore the complete history of the Dwarves in a separate story, but it's a good starting point for this tale, as their history also intertwines with another race we will discuss later in this story. The story of the Dwarves dates back to the dawn of time on Azeroth. Over 150,000 years ago, the old gods arrived on the planet and began spreading their influence. In response, the Titan Pantheon, a collective of titans who shaped and ordered worlds while searching for others of their kind, found Azeroth in this dire situation and created the Titanforged. These armies, crafted from Azeroth's crust, were designed to fight the Black Empire of the old gods. The Pantheon imbued some of their servants with specific likeness and powers to lead the Titanforge. These empowered beings, known as the Keepers, led the Titanforged in the war against the Black Empire. This conflict eventually led to the demise of the most powerful of the old gods, Y'Shaarj. The remaining old gods were imprisoned, including the mighty Yogg-Saron, who was confined into the Titan complex of Ulduar. Preserved underneath the snow of the Storm Peaks, Ulduar became the largest Titan-forged complex on Azeroth. In Ulduar, two of the Keepers constructed two great forges to help life flourish on Azeroth. Mimiron and Arcadus built the Forge of Wills and its twin, the Forge of Origination. These forges were designed to infuse Azeroth's slumbering world soul with cosmic energies. The Forge of Wills would shape the world soul's sentience, while the Forge of Origination would shape its form. The Forge of Wills also had the ability to draw on Azeroth's life essence to create sentient life. It was here that the more well-known Titanforged were born. The initial designs were too complex, leading to the creation of the malformed creatures, the Stone Troggs. Unable to bring themselves to destroy their flawed creations, a titanic watcher, Ioneia, sealed them away within Undermine, a subterranean vault buried deep within the mountains of Khaz Modan, designed as a chamber to hold the Troggs. However, many Troggs still managed to escape, some finding their way to Deepholm, others roaming Azeroth. We will revisit the story of the Troggs later in this very tale. The Keepers then refined their designs and produced the craggy yet kind-hearted Earthen, who were far more suited to their needs. The Titanforged were assigned specific roles in ordering and protecting Azeroth, with the Earthen tasked with crafting mountains and carving out the subterranean areas that lie beneath Azeroth. Long after the defeat of the old gods, Yogg-Saron, imprisoned within Ulduar, sensed a great disturbance among the Keepers guarding his prison. He used this opportunity to weaken his jailers by corrupting the Forge of Wills with a curse known as the Curse of Flesh. This curse caused any Titan-forged being created by the Forge to transform into a mortal being of skin and flesh. The curse even spread to the existing generation of Titan-forged, including the Earthen. Yogg-Saron also corrupted the Keeper Loken, tricking him into creating an army with the Forge of Wills and attacking his former allies. After Loken's betrayal, many Titan-forged were exiled from Ulduar. Some of the Earthen, alongside the Titanic Keeper Arcadus and the Watcher Ioneia, travelled to Undermine in the eastern corners of the ancient continent of Kalimdor, and it was there they expanded their facility of Undermine to house the Discs of Norgannon, a tale we will tell another time. The Earthen would then begin to show signs of the Curse of Flesh, and many of their race requested to be put into slumber by Arcadus until a cure could be found. Not all of the Earthen were in Undermine though. Some remained in Ulduar, while others were rallied by the Night Elves under Jarrod's Shadowsong to resist the Burning Legion. These Earthen clans were led by Doomguard Ironcutter, who acted as their spokesman to the Night Elves. When the Well of Eternity imploded at the end of the War of the Ancients 10,000 years ago, causing the Great Sundering, the Earthen, who were still awake, were deeply affected, feeling the pain of the earth as if it was their own. They retreated to the places of their origin, the Titan cities of Uldum, Ulduar Ulduar and Undermine, and all hibernated. With the stone Troggs sealed away and the earthen put to sleep in Undermine, this left the mechagnomes as the final caretakers. Over time, many of the mechagnomes either left or broke down until there was only one left. Knowing her time was short, she used the last of her energy to activate the hibernation chambers, ensuring the earthen would not be forgotten, but she perished once this was completed. When the earthen awoke, 2,500 years prior to the events of the Dark Portal, many found their powers over stone and earth had waned, and their rocky hides had softened to smooth skin. The newly awakened beings began calling themselves the Dwarves, a derogatory term the Night Elves had used in the War of the Ancients. They held on to their residual ties to their Titan-forged heritage, naming their land Loch Modan, or Mountain of Khaz, after the Titan Khaz. Emerging from the Titan city, these now fleshy beings made their way out and eventually built the city of Ironforge in Dún Mora, and went on to establish a mighty nation beneath the mountains. In Loch Modan, they also made contact with the descendants of the mechagnomes, the gnomes, and formed a natural friendship with them. For many years after its establishment, the dwarf kingdom of Ironforge, under the rule of High King Modamus Anvilmar, flourished amid the snowy landscapes of Dún Mora. Around 1,800 years before the First War, they encountered humans and high elves, who were already allies with each other. The humans and the dwarves exchanged many secrets of blacksmithing and engineering, and discovered a shared love for battle and storytelling. As interactions between the dwarves and humans increased, the two races became allies. Through partnerships and trade pacts with the northern human kingdoms, Ironforge amassed considerable wealth, enabling the dwarves to undertake remarkable engineering and craftsmanship endeavours. One such feat was the construction of the Stonewrought Dam. To the east of Dún Mora, the dwarves stumbled upon a vast loch, once the largest body of water in Loch Modan and the third largest in the known world, surpassed only by the Lordimir and the Darrowmere lakes. Originally fed by an underground source, the loch was smaller, with water cascading down from the mountains into the marshlands at the foothills. Determined to manage the water flow, the dwarves embarked on the ambitious project of building a grand dam deep within the mountains, overseen by the renowned dark iron architect Franklorn Forgewright, who later became credited with devising the innovative Stonewrought method. The construction of the dam effectively dammed the loch, more than doubling its original size. Additionally, it gave rise to the flooded plains of the wetlands, transforming the once submerged areas into the expansive wetlands. The formidable Stonewrought Dam became a magnet for travellers, drawing visitors from the distant lands like Quel'Thalos, who marvelled at the architectural prowess and vast resources employed in its construction. While many returned home impressed by the dwarven engineering, others spun tales of a mysterious creature dwelling in the depths of the newly expanded loch. Whispers of the Modan monster, a colossal kraken concealed beneath the waters, began to circulate. But over time, the tale of the Modan monster started to become more folklore, as only a handful of adventurers came forward to claim they had encountered the creature and lived to tell the tale. Despite the outward appearance of prosperity and strength, life within the dwarven realm of Loch Modan was fraught with internal strife. While boasting a magnificent but impenetrable city nestled within the mountains, unparalleled expertise in engineering, and vast expanses of land, Ironforge was far from a bastion of peace. Beneath the surface, tension simmered among the city's three dominant clans: the Bronzebeard, the Wildhammers, and the Dark Irons. Though all of these dwarves were coexisting within Ironforge, these clans were marked by cultural and traditional differences, and therefore constantly engaging in political power struggles within the kingdom. These challenges were then compounded by the advanced age of High King Modamus Anvilmar, who served as one of the few barriers preventing an outright conflict between the clans. With Anvilmar's passing approximately 230 years before the opening of the Dark Portal, the simmering tensions within the city reached a boiling point. This led to a full-blown war among the three rival clans, known to us today as the War of the Three Hammers. Lasting for years and marked by bloodshed and devastation, the conflict eventually saw the Bronzebeard clan, being the largest of the three, emerge victorious. They managed to drive the other two clans from the city, seizing control of it for themselves. The Wildhammer and the Dark Iron clans departed the region to establish their own nations nearby. The Wildhammers founded Grim Batol to the east, while the Dark Irons established their new kingdom of Thorasan in the tranquil Red Ridge Mountains to the south. There is a lot more to the lore behind the War of the Three Hammers, as the conflict between the three clans persisted after they separated, but that tale belongs to another moment. Going forward from here, all that is required to know for the tale of Loch Modan is that the Bronzebeard and the Wildhammer clans would eventually return to being allies, whilst the Dark Iron clan would go on to become the common enemy of the Dwarves. In the years that followed, some Ironforge dwarves and a few remaining Wildhammer dwarves settled in the Loch Modan area, establishing the village of Thelsmar on the loch's southwestern shore. Thelsmar became the primary settlement in Loch Modan, with its artisans renowned for crafting fine weapons and armour. Magistrate Bluntnose, the village's mayor, maintained order and safety. While Thelsmar is a quiet and hidden gem, Alliance adventurers often get rowdy in the Stout Lager Inn before heading back out into the roads of Loch Modan. And rightfully so. Apart from drinking, eating, hunting, and the occasional fight, there's not a lot to do in Thelsmar. But Thelsmar wasn't the only dwarven settlement in the area. Some dwarves continued their journey through Loch Modan and settled in the southeastern corner of the region, establishing themselves in Farstrider Lodge. From this safe haven they offered training in the ways of the hunter to many young dwarves. The lodge's origins are shrouded in mystery. Its architecture is of High Elven design, not dwarven. It may be a remnant of an ancient Night Elf civilization that once occupied these lands before the Great Sundering. The dwarves also built numerous outposts in both the northern and southern regions, along with the Algaz station to guard the area. These outposts would become increasingly important years later. The Stonewrought Dam wasn't the only impressive feat of engineering the dwarves constructed in the area. They also built the Valley of Kings, located in the southwestern corner of Loch Modan, just west of Stone Splinter Valley. The Valley of Kings would be seen by adventurers travelling to or from Dún Mora via the Southgate Pass, which is also a crucial route to the dangerous Serene Gorge. The main feature of this area are the two large statues of the Dwarven Kings, Modoran Bronzebeard and Cardros Wildhammer. After the deaths of these kings, their sons jointly commissioned these statues to honour their fathers. The statues stand guard over the pass into the Southlands, which would later become volcanic due to Ragnaros's scorching presence. The lands surrounding this peaceful loch remained tranquil for the next few decades. The dwarves of Loch Modan and the entire kingdom were unaware that they would soon witness one of Azeroth's most brutal and devastating series of conflicts, the First and the Second War. The people of Azeroth were unaware of the grand scheme being orchestrated by the powerful human mage, Medivh. Seeking to destroy the Kingdom of Stormwind and pretty much take over Azeroth, Medivh collaborated with an otherworldly being named Gul'dan. Together, they utilised their arcane prowess to create a rift, the infamous Dark Portal, linking their worlds. Through this portal emerged the savage Orcish horde, completely catching the inhabitants of Azeroth by surprise. The Orcs would go on to invade the land of Azeroth, and the relentless assaults continued over 3 grueling years, severely impacting Stormwind's economy. The loss of essential food supplies and the destruction of the crucial resources plunged Stormwind City into a precarious position. Seeing an opportunity to further weaken the human kingdom, Warchief Blackhand devised a plan to conquer the Red Ridge Mountains and launch an assault on Stormwind City itself. With Stormwind's fall imminent, Anduin Lothar, realising the dire situation, gathered the remaining forces and civilians for a desperate retreat. They sought refuge in the northern kingdom of Lordaeron, beseeching King Menethil II for aid against the relentless Orcish onslaught. Following Stormwind's fall, the Orcish horde established dominance over the lands of the kingdom. Continuing to the next phase, we approach the events of the Second War. Following the fall of Stormwind, the newly appointed Horde Warchief, Orgrim Doomhammer, embarked on a mission to conquer the remaining territories of Azeroth. Despite its serene appearance, Loch Modan witnessed its fair share of conflict and bloodshed during the First and the Second Wars. Due to the mountainous nature of Khaz Modan, Loch Modan provided one of the few accessible routes for the Orcish horde to advance further up the continent. The horde rushed and overran Loch Modan as they made their way towards the wetlands and then towards the Thandor Span. The dwarves of Ironforge defended their territory with unmatched valour, but the horde continued their push northward. However, as the horde attempted to attack the lands of Lordaeron, they were swiftly pushed back to the Thandor Span and then beyond, eventually retreating to the Burning Steppes. Towards the end of the Second War, Khaz Modan was liberated by the joint forces of the Combined Alliance in the north, the Dwarves, and even the Gnomes of Gnomeregan. Engaging Doomhammer's forces in the Burning Steppes, the Alliance achieved a decisive victory, albeit at the cost of losing Anduin Lothar in battle. The war concluded after the climatic battle at the Dark Portal, leading to its destruction. The conflict had ravaged villages and kingdoms, leaving widespread devastation across Azeroth. Reminders of the Horde occupation linger in the form of scattered Orcish remnants, such as broken catapults and siege weapons. In the years after the First and the Second Wars, Loch Modan stood as a beacon of pride for the Kingdom of Ironforge, and when the ink dried on the pages of history, it was very clear that Khaz Modan belonged to the Dwarves. In the aftermath of the First and Second Wars, the blood on the banks soaked into the ground, the trees sprang back to life, and the waters of the loch returned to their renowned tranquility. Even during the events of the Third War on Azeroth, the loch remained a safe and peaceful haven. In the 25th year since the opening of the Dark Portal, Ironforge, along with all Alliance and Horde capitals, saw an influx of new and young adventurers setting out on their journeys to explore Azeroth. Many young dwarves quickly made their way to Loch Modan after learning the ways of their people in Dun Mora, only to discover that the loch wasn't as peaceful as the stories had led them to believe. Upon their arrival, some adventurers met with Chief Engineer Hinduir VII at the formidable Stonewrought Dam. He tasked them with investigating the resurgence of Dark Iron dwarves in the area. It was revealed that the Dark Irons were attempting to blow up the Stonewrought Dam and wreak havoc across the neighbouring lands. Their plot was eventually thwarted as the bomb was disarmed and the dam was saved. Alongside dealing with the Dark Iron threats, the loch created by the dam abounded with fish, including piranha-like frenzies, attracting a variety of predators. Black bears and threshodons frequented the shoreline, with the bears snatching fish from the water and the threshodons chewing on aquatic plant life. Alongside these creatures, the region was also home to various boars, condors, crocolisks, eagles, foxes, kobolds, lynxes, and tarantulas. The influx of the dwarves from Dun Mora and occasional humans, thanks to the deep-run tram, were often tasked by the locals with thinning the numbers of these creatures to aid in the survival of the dwarves native to the loch. The true test of survival for the dwarves of the loch came from facing two formidable foes, the Troggs and the Ogres. The Troggs are a race of brutish, cave-dwelling humanoids, originally descendants of the first type of Titanforged created by the Forge of Wills that we mentioned earlier, known for their low intelligence. Troggs to this day still often come into conflict with their distant dwarven relatives. Returning to the story from the Halls of Ulduar, which we began at the start of this tale, the Stone Troggs, also succumbing to the effects of the Curse of Flesh, were sealed away in their dedicated vault in Undermine. They slept undisturbed for thousands of years until the dwarves began excavating Titan strongholds to aid in their lifelong quest of uncovering the truth and history behind Azeroth. One of these Titan strongholds they started to excavate was, of course, Undermine. Once disturbed, the now transformed, flesh-skinned Troggs poured out of the ground, eager to take out their aggression on the dwarves who had disturbed them. The Troggs slaughtered the dwarven explorers, forcing the survivors to flee back to Ironforge. The dwarves were relieved that it seemed like the Troggs didn't pursue them immediately, but the Troggs were actually hunting them from underground, carving tunnels through the earth. As they neared Ironforge, the artificial noises from the great factories in the gnomish capital of Gnomeregan caught the Troggs' attention and diverted them. The full history of Gnomeregan is a tale we have already told in the library, and you can find it attached to a safe portal in the description below. Conflicts between the dwarves of Loch Modan and the Stone Splinter Troggs erupted at Ironband's excavation site located in the southeastern corner of Loch Modan, just south of the loch and southwest of the Farstrider Lodge. The dwarves, like we mentioned in their quest for ancient artifacts and relics, were excavating this site when the Troggs invaded and overran the area. Prospector Ironband and his crew were forced to retreat to the outskirts of this site. From there, Ironband sent willing young dwarves back in to try and eliminate the invading Troggs. The conflict between the Troggs and the dwarves of Loch Modan has persisted for decades, with no end in sight, even as the world battled against the forces of the Lich King, defended Azeroth from the return of Deathwing, explored the uncharted lands of Pandaria, engaged in the battle for Azeroth, and even uncovered the mysteries of the Dragon Isles. The Troggs have still continued their relentless efforts to seize control of this small excavation site in the tranquil region of Loch Modan. The other enemy that has plagued Loch Modan since the first adventurers journeyed to the region are the Ogres. Ogres, large brutish humanoids of notable strength and native to the planet of Draenor. They arrived on Azeroth as they accompanied the Old Horde through the Dark Portal, and they went on to participate in the First and Second Wars, fighting alongside the Orcish Horde. After the Second War, and following the defeat of the Orcish Horde, some of the remaining ogre clans scattered across Azeroth. One of the places they settled was the Mogrosh stronghold in the northeastern reaches of Loch Modan. The stronghold consisted of ogre-infested caves, and judging by the ruins in the area, it was likely a troll settlement at one time, but whether the ogres drove the trolls out, or the trolls had left long before, leaving the land open for the ogres to move in and build their ogre mound, remains unknown. In more recent times, the Mogrosh ogres aligned themselves with the Twilight's Hammer, which we'll come onto in the next chapter. The caves are now infested with Dark Maulers and Earthbenders, all led by Gorkresh, a disciple of Cho'Gall. Ashland Stonesmirk, a dwarf located in a small camp just outside the stronghold, often enlists the help of passing adventurers to combat these ogres. Some reports tell of Alliance adventurers returning with the head of Gorkresh, while others suggest he still lurks within the Mogrosh caves. The truth still remains uncertain, and it falls to the brave Alliance heroes of Azeroth to uncover it. A few years after the influx of Azeroth's new adventurers in the 25th year, following the events of the Burning Crusade in Outland and the war against the Lich King in Northrend, the trees of Loch Modan faced their greatest struggle yet, the cataclysmic shattering of Azeroth caused by Deathwing's return. The most significant change was the destruction of the formidable Stonewrought Dam. As Deathwing flew across Azeroth, he passed over Loch Modan and shattered the dam, causing most of the loch's water to flow out and down into the wetlands below. This event transformed the wetlands back into the submerged marshland it once was before the dam's construction by the Dwarves. We won't delve into the details of the Twilight's Hammer sect here, as it warrants a dedicated tale. However, relevant to the story of Loch Modan, in the wake of the cataclysm, the sect built settlements in the Twilight Highlands adjacent to Loch Modan. From there, they began collaborating with Deathwing and his Black Dragonflight. They were seduced by promises of power and the destructive intentions of the twisted aspect of death. They joined his quest to unmake Azeroth. They claimed the ancient dwarven fortress of Grimbatol, and then the surrounding Twilight Highlands, establishing it as their main base under the leadership of their chieftain, the ogre mage Cho'Gall. The havoc unfolding in the Twilight Highlands spilled out and into Loch Modan. Adding to the damage wrought by Deathwing, the Twilight's Hammer exacerbated the destruction of the dam using the Twilight Landshaper, an artifact capable of altering the surrounding land. After its mysterious deployment, the artifact was then abandoned at the Twilight Camp in the northern area of the lake in Loch Modan. A deep chasm also opened up in the mountains between the Badlands and Loch Modan, now separating the regions. In addition to the invading agents of the Twilight's Hammer, the ongoing battles against the Troggs and the Ogres, the residents of Loch Modan now also had to defend their land against the Mosshide Gnolls, who had recently moved to Loch Modan from their native home of the Wetlands. It was also during this time that the adventurers were notified of a set of Explorers League documents stolen from Thelsamar. The Explorers League, dedicated to researching the origin of the Dwarven race, remains active across Azeroth to this very day. The stolen documents contained extensive information on the indigenous creatures of Loch Modan, potential dig sites, historical records of notable locations, transport routes, a detailed list of artifacts excavated by Iron Band's workers, and assessments of various threats in the area. These documents were vital to the dwarves' work. Suspecting a Dark Iron Dwarf infiltrator, they enlisted the help of a young Alliance adventurer to track down the spy. Their suspicions were correct. Ongoric Guzzledrought, a Dark Iron spy, was behind the stolen documents. The Alliance then confronted the Dark Iron and the spy was slain, and with that the documents were safely returned to Thelsamar. With the Dark Irons of Loch Modan thwarted once again, this concludes our last recorded tale from the region. Since the cataclysmic events triggered by the return of Deathwing the Destroyer, Loch Modan has remained pretty much frozen in time, its landscape unchanged since the day the Stonewrought Dam was destroyed. The Dwarves of the region still persist in seeking assistance to fend off the Troggs, the Ogres, and all the other creatures that call Loch Modan their home. As we conclude our journey through the lands of Loch Modan, we're reminded that its tale is not merely one of stone and water, but of resilience and unity through cataclysms and conflicts. The Dwarves of Loch Modan have stood steadfast, facing each challenge with unwavering courage. As we bid farewell to Loch Modan, let us carry with us the lessons learned in the rugged terrain, the importance of resilience, the power of unity, and the enduring spirit of adventure. Until we meet again, may the tales of Loch Modan inspire us to face our own challenges with courage and determination. Safe travels, adventurers, and may your journeys in Azeroth be filled with wonder and discovery.